This is the simplest method I use to get better renders every time. Just a few easy steps anyone can follow to instantly level up their final images. It'll help you to land more clients, build an impressive portfolio, and grow your social media presence. Watch until the end so you'll never have to worry about rendering again. Alright, here I have my sci-fi creature mech, and now I'm going to teach you how to render this. I finished the design and also applied the texture using MatricX. So, if you're looking for a place to add texture instantly with a lot of customization, you definitely need to check the MatricX add-on. So, the link will be in the description, go and check it. So now, I'm going to teach you two different methods to render this. So the one with a backdrop and one without a backdrop. So let's start with the method 1. So for this, you need to follow 3 steps. 1, which is adding camera, 2 is setting up the backdrop, and 3 is add lighting. So let's start with setting up the camera. But for this, you need to find the best angle for your model. So just orbit around the viewport and capture the best angle for your model. If I switch the front view, you can notice that the view looks more interesting. The design looks insane and the legs are really shaping out a good angle. So by seeing this model in a front view, it gives a different aspect. For example, the legs are really interesting, and at the front we have a whole mechanical stuff. So these are all the things that makes it looks more interesting. So I switched 1 on the number pad to go to the front view. And from here, I press page down and add a camera using machine tool. So once it add the camera, I press page down and increase the focal length about not 200, just very large, like 500 or something. Yeah, by 30. Then I'm going to push back this camera to capture the model. Like that. Then I slightly adjust the angle like this, something like a bottom angle, and place it at center, like that. Once we done that, we successfully finished the step 1. Let's move on to the step 2, which is adding the backdrop. It's very simple. What you need to do is Shift A, add a plane, then move it up and scaling it larger. Then you need to apply scale if you want, but I don't really scale any axis individually, so I don't really want to apply anything here. Then go to the edge mode, select this bottom edge and E to extrude it like this. So in my case, my model is something that hanging on the wall. So something like it's walking on the ceiling. So that is why I just add the plane at the top. In your case, if your subject is like a vehicle or a spaceship, it means that it placed on the ground. So what you need to do is, instead of just adding the plane at the top, you need to add the plane at the bottom and then extrude it out like this. Next, what we need to do is, we actually finished the adding the backdrop, but when you go to the front view, you'll notice that we have a really sharp line here. Well, it's not definitely a problem here because it can create something like a wall or ceiling, but I don't really want the sharp lines to be here because it creates a shadow and it creates a separation. I just want it to be like infinite backdrop. So for this, I'm going to the edge mode, select this edge and press Ctrl B to bevel it, then scroll your mouse to increase the segments and make a smooth curve like this. Then apply shade smooth. And now when you look at the front view, you get a nice backdrop. So we finished the step 1 and also complete the step 2. Next is the final step, adding lighting. So I don't really make this step super complex, like adding the lights and setting up the volumetric. That is pretty tough and time consuming. So I just take an easy step but powerful. It gives you a best lighting. But before we do anything crazy, it's important to make sure your model is touching the floor. Right now you can see that it's floating in the air. It's just really not suitable, especially in this case. So we need to make a logic here. So for that, I go to the side view and let me just add some thickness to this planes. So that way, it will be visible when we're looking at the side view. So I add a solidify modifier to that and Yeah, thickness will be fine. We just need to capture the visibility. And now I'm going to move this down like this. Just make sure that your model is not overlapping with this plane, and also it's not floating in the air. It's barely touching those legs like this. So once we've done that, let's move to the final step, which is lighting. So for that, I switch to the shading tab, and from here you'll see our backdrop and our model. I think we could just add some material to this backdrop, so I just click this plus button and set the base color something like a gray and increase the roughness all the way to 1. Yeah, that's a simple setup. So next is lighting, so I just switch to the render tab, and now you notice some decent lighting which is happening to the scene. The reason is because we already set up the node. So if you just switch to world, you'll see some node setup. So first of all, I just delete everything and select this background with node wrangler add-ons enabled. I hold the control and press T key to add these 3 nodes. So now we need to load our HDRI. So just click this open button, and right now go to the description and find the link to get the HDRI, which I'm using in this video. So that is called, the HDRI is called Small Studio 8. So load it, and your scene will instantly looks better. I set the strength to 1.2, which gives you a decent balanced lighting, and then we have to play around with the Z rotation. So for this, just increase the Z rotation value to 30. For each time, increment the value with 30, so that way you can find which angle looks good. So I'm just testing here to see rotation would match my scene. So I'm playing around with the numbers. Yeah, I guess that 120 gives me a pretty decent lighting, but let's try 160, 50 or 60 to check which gives us a best lighting. Yeah, 150, which gives me a best lighting. You can see that it gives the lighting to the front, and also it capturing the legs, so it's nothing too dark and not too light. So in some cases you get some area to be dark and some area to be very strong. So to fix it, what you need to do is just switch to the viewport shading just to prevent any blender crash, and I'm going to add a plane, scale it up, then move it down and position it where your model looks very dark. Or in my case, I noticed that in the leg side and also in the front, it gives me a little dark. So what I'm going to do is just move it to the front and rotate it on the Z slightly like this. So this is called reflecting. So what happened here is the light which is emitting from this plane, it's just going to reflect on our model. So the plane will always have a white color to it, so it gives a reflecting. But to make it even more powerful, I'm going to add a node and set the brightness to all the way up and increase the roughness to 1. So that way it gives more emitting, the reflection will be more powerful. Just make sure that it's not affecting your view. So in case if it's blocking your view, you just need to move this to down like this, and that's all you need. Now when you switch to the render mode, you'll get a balanced lighting. So this plane will fill all those dark areas and gives you a better lighting. So you need to adjust this plane depending on your scene. So in my case, I feel like the front portion is dark, so I have the plane here. So in case if you're having a dark portion on the left or right, you need to adjust the plane depending on your situation. So once you complete all 3 stages, now it's time to render this. So come here, click render and render the image. So that is the first method to render this. But the reason why I'm keeping the background color to be like gray is because our subject is dark. When you make the background to dark, the subject is actually blends with the background. So some part of the model which is actually blends with the material, so it's not really visible. So when we make it something like white, the black will be more pop up and we can see all the model. So that is why I just keep the background to be like gray. If you would like to keep the background to be dark, you need to simply delete this, which is the method 2, without a backdrop. So now we don't really need to do anything. Just go here and render this. And once you render, it will give you a transparent background. You just need to make sure that your image is set to PNG. That is really important if you want a transparent background. And once you finish rendering, you need to use third-party software like Photopea or Photoshop to edit the background. When you're editing the photo, it affecting the first layer. When you're editing the contrast, the brightness, texture, it only affects the subject, not the background. So that way the background remains dark and unaffected and your subject looks pop up. So that is how you can just add the dark background when your subject is also dark. So yeah, that is the two method which I use to get a good render. So hope you found this video helpful, and if you would like to follow more, just hit the subscribe button and join our Discord server. So that's all I wanted to share, and I'll see you in my next video.